Welcome back to Sports on Tap, live from Studio J in Brunswick, Ohio. We're Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. Rob Troutman, Josh Jeffy.
Got some hot mics here.
Yeah, we do.
Technical difficulties all around today, but that's all right.
That's all right. We're working with it, man. And by phone, we have Sports on Tap's own Ed Dick here, who's going to be talking a little Cavaliers and Kevin Love with us.
Ed, are you there? Ed, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. How you guys doing?
What's up, Ed? How's it going, buddy?
Hey, living the dream, right? That's what they tell you to say, isn't it?
That's right, Ed. We're always living a dream here at Sports on Tap.
Boom.
As long as we're on the air, it's always a good time.
That's right, buddy. Get away from work and everything for a little bit at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I just left a little bit later. I thought I was going to leave, and I'm actually meeting up with my younger sister. She's moving to Ann Arbor here in a couple weeks.
Whoa!
And, I know.
Oh man.
I'll say this though. If I can parlay this into a Michigan Ohio State game, this will be worth it.
I completely agree. I mean, and you know what? And she can always say every day, Michigan still sucks, right?
Exactly. She could say it in enemy territory. That's something we can't do right now.
Well, Ed, we appreciate you coming on our show and talk a little Cavs and Kevin Love. The first segment, we kind of just went over the Cavaliers and Golden State Game 5 in the series a little bit. But overall, what was your thought on Game 5? We'll talk about that first and then move to what you thought about Kevin Love.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure there's really much more that I can offer than what's already been said. I mean, obviously we saw two historic performances by both LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, and I guess if you had Kevin Love in there, they scored a combined 84 points from what I understand, or 85 points. It's just I'll give them credit in that they both clearly were the hot hand, and they were the best options. They were the best options to go right there.
Yeah.
So there was no. I mean, Irving shot 17 of 24. LeBron was just over 50%. I mean, and the Warriors could not stop them. So for one day, hero ball worked out, and you can't discount the impact that Draymond Green had in it, even though I'm sure all those Warrior idiots out there are trying to file over this, even though the Cavs were able to win 2 games without 2 of their best players. They could have won 1 game without one of their best players in the finals. Kevin Love, I mean, we're mentioning Kevin Love, and I'll tell you right now, and I was telling my wife about this when I was watching the game, and it's like, I just can't believe how not involved in the offense he is. When you have 2 bigs in the game at the same time with Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love, there's no reason for them not to get every single rebound. And the fact that Love was more of a de facto decoy, if you want to call him that, I mean, he didn't even show any interest in shooting the ball, for one. And 2, defensively, he wasn't really by the rim. And I get that the style of play dictates that, but it's just a bad matchup for him. And we all know that. We've all seen it. And until Lou can figure something out, I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you get back in the Game 6, hero ball is probably not going to work. Draymond Green's going to play. Steph Curry's probably not going to miss 6 or 7 uncontested threes again. But the positive side is the Cavs role players should play better. And that's the thing you usually get out of a home game is your role players step up a little bit more, and they're going to need the help tomorrow. You can't expect Kyrie and LeBron to score 40 points every game. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
So speaking of Kevin Love, Ed, I mean, it's out there. NBA Finals, there's a lot of time in between games now. And, of course, there's a lot of overreaction from a loss and overreaction from a win. But speaking of Kevin Love, you just said it there. This is a bad matchup for him. And if this was the team in the Golden State Warriors that the Cavs were building their roster to face off against in the Western, in the NBA Finals, What does that say for Kevin Love and his future? I know the series isn't over, but his future is talk of the town right now, and whether or not he's a fit for this team. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think the Golden State Warriors were the intended target when they got Kevin Love. I think that's the first thing. I mean, not that they weren't a good team, because they were, but they weren't. Probably the style of play that they have fashioned probably wasn't on the forefront of everybody out there.
Good point.
I think that when the trade was made, it was with the thought that we could dictate how we could play. We're very versatile, and everything we'd be able to counteract everything. In the last 2 years, we've seen the Warriors play a very unique style that really no one's been able to stop. I mean, San Antonio didn't get a chance to do it the last 2 years. They're probably one of the few teams that would have a shot at it. But regardless of that, I think it's up right now to the Cavs to figure out how they can best use them. I mean, when you're asking three players like Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love to figure this out, it's not going to happen overnight. And Love, admittedly, has to be the one that takes the most sacrifice. And at a certain point, I'm sure you make an argument that, well, it's been 2 years, they still can't figure it out. Well, now they've had two different coaches.
Yep.
And the thing that Golden State has over the Cavs, and really over a lot of teams in the league, is their continuity. Even though they've had two different coaches in the last 2 years, they've had the same system in place for 4 or 5, and the same players in place for 4 or 5. With a couple of key additions. It's not as much as you want it to be a quick fix league, and LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh are able to figure it out. That's more the exception to the rule. So I think there's still a place for Kevin Love, and this will be the third year next year, provided nothing happens crazy over the offseason. It can only get better in my mind instead of getting worse.
We talked about hero ball, and I feel like in the Eastern Conference playoffs, there was more passing. I thought everybody kind of touched the ball. Everybody was hitting shots. And in this series, I feel like it has been hero ball almost, games 1 through 5, basically. How do the Cavaliers now, change that style? Because I feel like, when LeBron and Kyrie have the hot hand, obviously you're going to keep feeding them the ball. But other players then are starting to stand around, not much movement. The passing, I feel like, is very limited. In a Game 6, how are they going to change that? I mean, what offense do you feel like they need to get more of the bench and say Richard Jefferson or Kevin Love, find more plays for him? J.R. Smith, Shumpert hasn't been shooting great, but should we try to get those guys on track? And maybe, obviously, you're going to still feed Kyrie and LeBron James, but how do you get the other players involved? And do you have to go away from hero ball the rest of the way?
Well, I mean, it just comes down to simple. I mean, they just have to pass the ball. They have to make rotations. They have to move the ball from one side of the court to the other. I mean, Golden State is a very good defensive team. We've seen that, and they're going to be buoyed, obviously, tomorrow by Draymond Green. And for one night, it looked like Golden State didn't know how to play defense. I have trouble thinking, and really, they didn't play the worst defense in the world. I didn't think. I mean, I think when you have Kyrie Irving hitting 60% of his shots that are contested, there's really not much you can do about that. We're making shots, and if you're making shots, the defense isn't even going to stop that. So the Cavs can't rely on just making those shots again, and they need to be able to move the ball and get inside the lane and make the passes. It's funny to watch Kyrie Irving when he goes in that mode, provided he's making those shots. But if he's not making shots, and he needs to either realize he's not making shots and start moving the ball, or get the ball in his hands or play off the ball like he did do on Monday. So it sounds simple, it sounds cliche, but it's just move the ball, you'll find your rotations, and you need to get the bench involved too. I mean, I get that it's the last couple of games of the year and players can rest afterwards, but Golden State throws 10 people at you, and the last thing we need is to have our best players being gassed at the end of the game. Especially when you get some contributions from a Jefferson, who's actually played pretty well in the series, I thought. J.R. Smith needs to step it up. I think he will tomorrow. And Kevin Love needs to show some sort of, they need to get Kevin Love involved, and we say that all the time, but Love needs to involve himself. However he needs to do that, he just needs to do it. So that's really the key of it. It's got to be a whole team effort tomorrow, because you're not going to get to Game 7 unless you're going to come off against a very pissed-off Golden State team that's had to come back to Cleveland and try to close this out again. They're not going to be very happy, and they're going to want to celebrate when they get home instead of having to prepare for another game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one last question before we let you go. What's going to happen in Game 6? What are your predictions for Game 6? Will the Cavs win in Game 6 of the finals?
The Cavs are going to defend the land, and we're going to go back to Golden State on Sunday and try to win a championship. And I can't wait. I'll be in Cancun for that time.
Whoa!
With my wife, and we will be. I will be Cavs the hell out and enjoying many a cerveza for that game.
Well,
Cavs will win tomorrow.
All right.
That's good. We'll take it. We'll take it game by game. And whatever happens in Mexico stays in Mexico.
Yeah, and I'm sure Ed will be tequila'd out when he gets back.
Ed, just remember, stay thirsty, my friend.
I'll get down there. That'd be awesome.
Well, Ed, thanks for
great show as always, guys. And I apologize can't be there tonight, but I'll see you guys on the other side.
Hey, sounds good, Ed. Thanks for coming on, bud, and have a good night. Go Cavs.
Go Cavs. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.
That is Ed Dick, host of Sports on Tap. I want to thank him for coming on. He always adds such great insight to all of our sports coverage. So great job by Ed there. And
he
brings up some good points.
He brought up a very good point about the whole Kevin Love thing, where when this team was created, the Warriors weren't the Warriors yet. The Cavs were going to be the team that sets the tone for the league, but the Warriors came out of nowhere. So that's a good point that not many people brought up. So that's a good job out of Ed Dick right there.
Well, I think it's funny because a lot of people now, he played really impressive basketball in the Eastern Conference series, or playoffs rather. And in this series, I admit he isn't. I think Golden State has just those tall, athletic players that are just a step quicker than him. But it doesn't mean he's not good for this team, because I don't know if you saw the rumor, but they said if the Cavaliers do not win the finals, that there could be potential that the Cavaliers bring in Carmelo Anthony, which he's a terrible defender, but he's a solid scorer, and they would trade Kevin Love to New York.
Well, I'm not going to worry about that. And when it comes when it comes to the defense, though, of Kevin Love, that's one thing that people have been saying, that Kevin Love's a liability on the defensive end. I have to give him credit that during this series, when they switch on the pick, there's a lot of times, especially games 1 and 2, and he did a little bit the last game in Game 5, where he was out one-on-one with Steph Curry, and he did a really good job of keeping Steph in front of him. Of course, Steph's going to get a shot. That's what he is. Yeah. He's one of the best shooters in the league, and he's going to get his shot, at least get a shot off. But Kevin Love's doing a good job. Last game, like Ed said, the style of play dictated Kevin Love on the defensive end. He was out switching on the pick, and so he was far away from the hoop, so he was not able to get those rebounds. So I really look to see that the Cavaliers will get him more involved, the low post looks. It's up to Kevin Love to be strong with the ball, though. He's really soft with that ball, and he gets pushed around there a lot. We need Kevin Love to get back in his fat days mentally and just dominate in the post. And then that'll lead – Kevin Love being dominant in the post will lead to a lot more on the offensive end for not only Kyrie and LeBron, but others.
Yeah, and I think he's got to be a little bit quicker with his shot. Be ready to shoot the ball. Because a lot of times –
got to be confident.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think he hasn't been good, but at the same time, his defense hasn't been bad. He's been getting rebounds. blocking some shots, but obviously his stats haven't been what people want to see. And I think, truthfully, tomorrow night the Cavaliers need a few other players to score 10 to 15 points in that range. LeBron and Kyrie obviously are going to be the leading scorers, and they're going to leave it all out there. But there needs to be some contributions from J.R. Smith, from Kevin Love. If you can put in a Channing Frye, he's not a great matchup because, like I said, I feel like when you look at this Cavaliers team going against a very athletic, quick Golden State team, a guy like Channing Frye on defense is probably going to get burned a little bit, or Kevin Love is a step slow.
Yep.
That's going to happen. Even Shumpert, Shumpert plays pretty good defense, but I feel like it's taken him out a little bit of him getting in sync with everything.
Yep.
His shot has not been falling.
It hasn't been falling all year, though, to be honest.
Yeah, and he struggled. But there's still more Cavaliers talk about. A few players opted in with the Cavaliers, and a player opted out. We'll talk about that when we come back. We're Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network, live from Studio J in Brunswick, Ohio. You'll say we're off air for a second, but we're coming right back with another Cavaliers segment and much, much more. We're Sports on Tap.
For the best coverage of Cavs, Indians, and Browns, check out NEOSportsInsiders.com. NEOSportsInsiders.com brings you breaking news, opinions, and video from all things related to your favorite Cleveland sports teams. Like us on Facebook and follow at NEO Sports Insiders on Twitter for live updates from all the games. NEOSportsInsiders.com, bringing you the best in Northeast Ohio sports coverage.
Can't wait for the next Sports on Tap podcast to drop? Then stay connected with us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast and like our page at Facebook.com/SOT Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Sports on Tap on YouTube and iTunes and email us at sportsontapodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out Josh Jeffy's six-pack of random and our full show archives on NEOSportsInsiders.com. Sports on Tap is your source for local high school sports talk in Northeast Ohio. Hear from your favorite teams, coaches, and players, and stay up to date with all the high school action no matter the season. Catch Sports on Tap live on Mixlr or find past shows archived on NEOSportsInsiders.com, SportsOnTapPodcast.podomatic.com, and on iTunes and YouTube. Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. Join Sports on Tap for live broadcasts at Z's Cream and Bean on the first Thursday of every month from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Come see the faces behind the voices you hear on the podcast and hear from local athletes and coaches about their teams, seasons, and conferences. Enjoy delicious ice cream and milkshakes and join in on the fun at Z's Cream and Bean, 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley. The Sports on Tap podcast, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network.